Hello and welcome to 707. I'm Evan Johnson. Today I'm with Kerry Benefield, the, I already forgot, prep sports columnist. Thank you, from the Press Democrat. Thank you for coming in today.
You're very welcome. It's good to be here.
Great. All right, so let's start with maybe a little bit of your background, where you got started. I know you're from here.
I am.
Santa Rosa High School.
Santa Rosa High School, right next door.
I was looking at your tweets, your tweet feed there, and it seems like you do have a lot from just the stadium over there. A lot of tweets from the football games for Santa Rosa High School.
Yeah, I try to show where I am, like, shoot pictures or kind of announce this is where I am. Look for a column later on, but.
Is that you representing Santa Rosa High School? A little favoritism because you're right down the street?
No, but I hear that every once in a while. No.
Yeah.
No, I got assigned that game that I was covering the other night, and because sometimes I do get assigned stories to cover. A lot of the times I get to decide what and where I want to be. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't hold a torch for Santa Rosa above any other school.
People give you stuff about that.
They do, yeah, every once in a while.
Like Montgomery or somebody.
Or just a reader and say like, I know you're a Panther, and I know you've got allegiances. I'm like, yes, I am a Panther, but no, there's nothing like that. I'm a fan of everybody.
So you don't go to the other games wearing a little secret Panther shirt?
No, and just bust it out when I need to, or like start singing the song. No, that's not gonna happen.
Football then. How did you get interested in football?
I mean, it's a big player for us in PD preps. I mean, people like it. People go to the games. We do rankings and whatnot. So the fall is a big time for us. Yeah. And although, I mean, I'm a fan of kind of all sports, but in the fall, football is a big deal for us, and we try to cover the best we can with limited resources, but we try to get out to the big games and get out to, sometimes the games that are going to be competitive but might not decide who's who in league, but they're going to be, a good battle of, mid-range teams who we might not always get to, because they're the teams that are going to make the playoffs, and then they're going to get in the paper pretty steadily in a couple weeks. So we try to get to other people before that.
You think about like Texas, or you just hear about other places where high school football is God and all that stuff. How does California or Sonoma County kind of relate, would you say?
It doesn't. I mean, I lived for 3.5 years in Louisiana, in Shreveport. Football is huge there. John David Booty came from there. Terry Bradshaw's from there. It's just a big deal. When people ask you what school you went to, they're not talking about college, they're talking about high school. And it's not the same here, and that's not a criticism. It's just, we've got, I mean, I would say, and it's not as far as like culture and it takes over and people come to them, but like we have excellent swimmers that come from this area, obviously. We have excellent runners that come from this area. Soccer's huge. So I don't think football needs to be huge. I mean, it's great and it's a ton of fun. And I think for me, I think football is important as like a community. It's part of high school, and you don't have to be a giant football fan to want to go to a game on Friday, or at Pioneer on Saturday afternoon. No lights.
You were soccer, right?
Yeah.
You went to Cal.
I did.
You wrote.
A tiny bit at Cal. I just tried it on, yeah.
So just in the news, I read it today on Yahoo. Sonny Dykes, the coach, he was kind of ranting a little bit about the unfair schedule that Cal had. We had just talked a little bit about it before we got on camera. Talk about that a little bit.
I mean, that Saturday night game against Oregon, I stayed up till midnight to watch it. It was double OT.
Just this past Saturday.
But yeah, and the Bears won, so that was good. But yeah, I mean, they're playing till midnight, and then 6 days later they got to go down to LA and play USC, and unfortunately lose. But that's a quick turnaround.
That seems like an NFL turnaround. I mean, why
do college players even have to do that? Yeah, and these are student athletes. I mean, they're young kids in some cases. Mm-hmm. It's not their full-time job. I mean, it's hard to go to school.
Right.
It's hard to balance those things.
Cal is not a pushover school.
No, and it asks a lot of you. And so I think I think they forget that, and they forget that when they schedule the times of games. and they don't schedule them until 8 days before, where is kickoff at 3, is kickoff at 8.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And I know, but fans, you buy tickets to a game, it's like, well, what time am I going to go? Am I going to have dinner? Am I going to have lunch? Am I going to take my kids because the game's till midnight? I mean, when I was growing up, kickoff was at noon. It was at 1, always. And it wasn't on TV. You'd listen to it on the radio. I'm making myself sound ancient, but I think that kind of football should be played in the afternoon, like these night games. I was asleep on my couch at that Oregon game. I was trying to stay with it, but I'm old.
I guess maybe the college kids, the students, maybe are staying up.
They're the only ones. Oh my God, yeah.
And not if they got a test or something.
Yeah.
How was that for you then? You were a 4-year scholar athlete. Mm-hmm. Was that fun? Was it crazy?
It was great. I mean, I was a better student than I was a soccer player. I mean, that was a big jump for me to go from high school soccer to college soccer. And I mean, it was kind of like, welcome to it. I wasn't very good. I hung on for dear life with those guys, but we were on an excellent team. But I would say what I was good at was kind of managing life and learning how to do that, because it does ask a lot. It asks a lot of you. I mean, and I got out in 4 years. But sports also offer you incredible support. There's tutoring, there's study centers, and I think for me at Cal, the biggest kind of academic bonus that I got from doing that was you got the first crack at your schedule, which might sound like a nuanced little difference, but it's not. I mean, when athletes get the first go at what classes they can get in, and I mean, you can set your schedule, because there's kids that wait 3 semesters to get that one class to graduate, and that's why they have to hang around and
student athlete can stroll.
Yeah, and there's a reason, but there's a reason for it. Like, so it's not shady. Mm-hmm. It's because they've got to be at practice every day too. Like, you can't have an evening class, you can't have these things, so you have to kind of jam everything in, and you can't, you have to have a light load on Fridays because you might have to travel. So there's a reason why you get to stroll right in and get it. It sounds a little bit.
Well, the public's going to come in and watch you as a student, not just as a student, but as an athlete performer.
Yeah.
I mean, soccer is getting huge. Women's
it is.
soccer.
I think it's wonderful. Yeah, I think it's great to see it take off. I love it.
We have pro leagues now.
Yep.
The World Cup. Did you follow? I mean, I'm sure you follow the World Cup.
I do. Or I did. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun to watch them. Alex Morgan's a Bear, so that's I love that. Like, I have a total fondness for her.
Favorite athlete?
On that team, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I totally root for her. I don't know her, but I totally root for her being a Bear, and I just think she's a great player, and that team's so awesome.
Which team is it?
The U.S. team, like the U.S. national team. Yeah, I just think it's fun to watch soccer at that level. It's really, really fun.
One more thing about Cal before we have to take a break. Listened to the radio the other day, KT Scott, she's on KBR 680, and a little anecdote that they were going back and forth with was that if you're at a Cal game and you see a red shirt, you need to
take off that red shirt. Take off that red shirt.
And then if they don't take it off, you forcibly remove that red shirt.
It's happened. I've borne witness to that. Yep.
But never partake?
No. Okay. No, but I have done the chanting and the pointing, which makes me equally guilty of societal bullying.
Is it a football game or a soccer game
football.
Or all?
Football, and it's usually, in my recollection of these things, it's usually someone who gets the dare from the other side of the stadium to try to stroll down in front of the Cal student section, taunting with the shirt, and
it's all sneak attack.
Yes, it's all
section fired
and
up.
Sometimes I think it's a plant. I think it's a Cal kid who's got it on and wants to, and then gets harassed at the bottom of the stadium, but
just wants to all cameras on them. Okay, well, thanks for this first section. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. I'm Evan Johnson, and I'm sitting in here with Kerry Benefield from the Press Democrat, and we're going to continue our conversation. So let's just get a little bit more personal, maybe your parents, family. You grew up with brothers and sisters playing soccer? Any competitive stuff going on there?
I got an older brother, much older brother.
much older.
No, I'm kidding. we somewhat look alike, and he's older than I am, so I really get offended when people ask who's the older one. Who's him?
So rude.
I know. Yeah, you don't ask that. But he lives in town. My mom lives in town. My stepdad, which is one of the reasons. Like when I had worked kind of all over. I went to grad school in London. I worked in New Mexico. I worked in Louisiana, but I always wanted to come back to Santa Rosa. I was like one of those kids. You know, in high school you want to leave.
Yeah.
But it became pretty clear to me right away that like I wanted to come back.
So why London?
I always wanted to live there, and I never, like with sports, I never got to do a year abroad. Like I had lots of friends that did that, and you know, went all over, and I was always like jealous of that people got to do that.
Just during college or after college?
Well, my friends would do years abroad in college, and then, yeah, I really wanted to go, and so after graduation, I worked for 2 years at the St. Helena Star, weekly over in Napa County, which was a blast. And that's where I really kind of figured out that I wanted to be in journalism. Like this was fun. I really didn't have Yeah, no, I was the features editor, so I could write whatever I wanted. It was a great office. It was a ton of fun. And that's where I kind of figured it out. Like this is it. And so I went to London more to live and like have an experience rather than go to grad school, because I went to grad school and it was great, but it was really kind of over my head or not what I wanted to do. These were like NPR people. Like these were people who really had, I don't want to say more ambition than I did, but they just had interests that were on a bigger stage. And the whole time I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, I want to get back to California, you know, and I want to work for the Press Democrat.
Cool.
Yeah, but I was knocking on the Press Democrat's door for a long time before they finally answered.
They let you in the club.
I know. It took a while, and my understanding of the business world was such that I was like, why don't they want me? I mean, this is ridiculous, but I'd worked like 2 years.
So is the Press Democrat that smoke-filled room of Mad Men? I saw a tweet that you had on Twitter there, and it's got the guys all sitting around smoking and stuff. There's one woman there.
Yep. No, I think I tweeted that one day because the Press Democrat is in that behemoth building downtown, and people do smoke outside, and they were smoking right under the intake building or the intake vent, and so it was like kind of getting sucked into the room, and so it smelled like a room like that. But this shows you how old I am. Is when I was in London, I interned at a couple different newspapers, but I had a job at the Sunday Times, which is like, that was phenomenal. And I worked on the foreign desk, and they smoked at their desks, and I would sit there and answer the phone for them, and they're just smoke, and I just like it was bizarre to me, and I certainly wasn't going to say anything to anybody there, but and I'd come home and I'd just reek, I'd been at the office and I just stunk.
Feeling like an ashtray.
Yeah, and unhealthy, but.
Yeah, makes you want to get out and run or something after that. Huh?
Yes.
Eat some broccoli.
That's right. A little cleansing.
Well, just touching back on the woman in the newsroom. It's happening more. It seems like it's more common for more sports writers. Woman on the sideline and all that. I mean, do you feel like there's still a glass ceiling, or do you feel like, hey, we're taking this on. This is the new movement. I don't know if I have a great answer for that, because I don't, and this probably reflects poorly on me. I don't think about it a ton. You're just doing you. I mean,
I'm just doing
it.
I mean, and our staff at the Press Democrat is extraordinarily small, but there's 2 women. Our executive editor is a woman. A bunch of our, kind of second level editors are women. So I guess like on the sports side of it, I don't know.
There's camaraderie. I mean, there's a team of women there. Are you up against the guys, or I mean, it's just everybody's kind of working together?
Not at all. Yeah, I don't have that. No, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I don't get that vibe at all. Really, it's just kind of everybody is kind of in it together, and maybe that's just me being a little Pollyanna-ish because I can be that way. But I don't. Yeah, I don't feel like it's. Yeah, that there's like. Maybe that's not acknowledging stuff that really is out there, but I don't think it's like a fight for me every day to, prove my worth, or like I belong in the sports world. Like that doesn't enter into it for me.
The Press Democrat has recently had a change of ownership. Did that affect you at all?
It did not. I guess not specifically. I think it was good. We were owned for a very brief time in the middle by a company that, from my understanding and memory, did not have good intentions for the newspaper. Like we were sort of an outlier paper from a collection of papers that were on the Eastern Seaboard. They didn't want us. They were going to gut the newsroom, and so this group of owners. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear. So the group of mostly local people came in and bought us, and that's been really positive. I mean, we've had to give up some things to keep that, but I mean, there was a stretch there before this group came in. We were having meetings all the time about potential layoffs and people taking buyouts and.
What types of things have you had to do without then? You mentioned that you have to
pay
do
cut. We did have to agree to that when they came aboard. I don't want to get like too into details, but they did freeze. There were no layoffs for 3 years, that was huge. I mean, when we were losing people all the time, and the newspaper industry is not healthy as far as I can tell. I mean, so I wouldn't want to run the ship because I don't know how to steer it to safety, but I think it's
for you then. I mean, you're doing more social media. You're doing podcasts.
Yeah.
You're doing the tweets.
Yeah.
I'm
trying.
You have to, right? I mean,
you really do, and I don't know what's working, but I'm of the mind, and not everyone's like this, but I'm of the mind like just try it, like see what works. If a couple people like this avenue of storytelling, then keep after it. Just so long as like the main product doesn't suffer. And sometimes I worry about that. I think, well, God, I should really work on the craft of writing. I should really work on the discipline of reporting because I could certainly be better at that. In the time that I spend kind of chasing podcast ideas or trying to learn how to do this new technology, should I be getting back to the basics? And maybe I should, but I think we should be trying things and trying new ways.
Are you getting good feedback on it?
From whom?
Well,
my mom listens.
Yeah. How do you find your stories for the podcasts?
So far, and this is purposeful, is they've really been side notes to a written piece so that I don't have to go out and do something separately. So I don't have to tell my boss like, oh, I just spent a day and a half doing a podcast that you'll never see the likes of in the paper. Okay. So I try to, interview someone for the column and then talk about something different for the podcast, or try to do something that has more, just tell a little bit more of the story or get a little more of like actually hearing the person's voice, which I think is really interesting for people.
Yeah.
At least I do. So they've gone lockstep together, which I think in the future, if they take off, then maybe we do something different and they're separate. Or we have, this is my idea too, it seems very common, but like have a coach come in or have a player come in and have a conversation like this one and throw it up there and see if people like to listen to it.
Give us a chance to meet our local athletes, our local
right.
coaches.
And hear their voices. I think that's, we do videos all the time, and I think those are pretty popular. Like people get to see them and they get to hear how they speak, and I think people like that.
Is there somebody right now who you think, that person would be a great person to have on a podcast? Maybe it's coach, maybe it's a...
I think everybody. I think coaches like Tom Kirkpatrick at Windsor, I think he's been around. He's done a great job with Windsor football this year. He's got kind of a storied history. I think he'd be fun to have in there. I mean, I hadn't mentioned this to him, but any coach, I think, because coaches don't really, they get the summary quote of how'd you do, or did your defense break down, or, why can't you get one in the back of the net, but to have an ongoing conversation of, that's one thing. I don't think people generally understand how much coaches put in at the high school level to their teams. Every sport I'm talking about. It's year round for these guys in many, many cases. The ones who are, trying to do it to a certain level.
Let's pick this back up and we'll take a quick break and let's come back to that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. We'll be right back. And we're back. Thank you for watching. I'm Evan Johnson and I'm with Kerry Benefield. And we were just talking about the storied history of one of our Windsor coaches. Could you tell me just a little bit about that? It's kind of interesting. We would have a Bear Bryant or something.
Right. No, I don't think it's to that degree, but I think he's kind of an interesting guy. I don't know him really very well, but you asked like what coach would I have in, and he'd be kind of on the top of my list to have a conversation. He coached up at Healdsburg for a really long time, and then started down at Windsor, I think 2 seasons ago, and has done a great job with them. Just like the evolution of football around, who have been the big powerhouses and
who has been the powerhouses.
Well, I mean, Newman's the show right now. Annalie's excellent in the SEL. They don't have a ton of competition in the SEL, so then they have to there's a balance of how they make it through a little bit of a weaker league schedule, and then they hit the postseason, and it's it's a whole nother level. So how do you practice for that? But
when you're out there maybe interviewing or chatting with the players, the coaches, how do you try to get their personality into it, or do you have a chance to kind of delve into that at all?
I mean, you try. I like to go to practice. That's usually where you see a little bit more of the interaction between teammates. I try not to get in the way and try to watch how people deal with each other. Listen how a coach talks. When something breaks down, like how does it happen again? Like I remember going to Cardinal Newman girls basketball practice last season, and it was like heading into the postseason, I think. And usually I just come in, introduce myself and say, I'm just going to stand off to the side, and if I need a kid, can I just kind of, I want to talk to her.
And they recognize you by now? Or are they
but I'll call and say, and we'll talk a little bit, and I'll say, well, I'm going to come out to practice this afternoon.
Okay. And
so I was in the gym, and Monica Myrtle's the coach, and they've been phenomenally successful. And they were doing this, it wasn't simple, but it wasn't a complicated drill, and they'd clearly done it many times before. And they're going up and down the court, and they dropped and they were supposed to get 10 in a row, and they dropped 2 passes in a row. And she blew the whistle, pulled everybody kind of away from me, and I don't know if that was purposeful. I was over here, did a little talking to them. They started again, and then bang, no draw. And it was this, and they're weaving around each other, and they've got to do the layups, and they've got to catch the ball before it hits the ground. And they went through it. And so I don't know if my presence there was distracting, or it was playoffs are coming was distracting, but she corralled them right back in and said, redo, we need to start this again. And, and I think she made them run before that too. But so sometimes just being there I can throw it off a little bit, but most coaches know how to ignore me, which is what I want them to do.
And talking about being there, that just reminded me.
Or ignoring me.
How do you stand in the shadows? But being there, Maria Carrillo, the Olympian, she was.
Maya Dorado.
Maya Dorado, yeah. How'd you find? Because I heard about that on the radio, and they were like, "Oh, it was a surprise deal. Nobody knew this was going to happen, but evidently you were there. You got it. How did you find out about that one?"
Well, I mean, she was a phenomenal prep swimmer. She was our swimmer of the year. She went to Stanford on a scholarship. She was no slouch. And then she had a great collegiate career too. But she really was kind of, not even a late bloomer, because you don't go to Stanford on a scholarship and be a late bloomer, but she kind of came into her own at the exact right moment. And that was just super fun to watch, because that team was so good. Everybody on the U.S. swim team kind of swam out of their minds. And we talked a little bit about that she felt sort of contagious. Everybody had this sort of winning attitude. And I think she caught people's attention because, number one, she was killing it. And number two, she was like, this is my first, but it's also my last. I'm done. And she was retiring, and she got a job lined up. She was just married. So I think that intrigued people too. It was just something different for people to watch and to latch onto. And then I was thinking about this, her final race, I had gone home from work, not early, but I'd left for the day, and she had her final race against the Hungarian, who had the very animated husband. That one, do you remember her? And she was doing very well, Katinka Hutsu. And so Maya was going up against her in this last race, and I had gone home, and it was my practice during the Olympics. It was really to kind of watch stuff in the morning, which I shouldn't say as a sports writer. I wasn't watching it live because it would go so late into the night. I go to bed really early. And I didn't feel well, and I was making dinner, and I was feeling rotten, and my phone just starts blowing up. Are you watching this? And then my bosses are calling saying, we need you to write this. I'm like, write what? I was really kind of I took my temperature, and I took a picture of it, and sent it to them.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And they're like, well, we feel really bad for you, but we need you to write this anyway. So they said, and I'm I didn't even watch the race. And so they send me a clip of this race. I knew she'd won, and I still was I had chills, and not because I had the fever, watching her come from behind. And I thought, they've sent me the wrong race. And I was how many laps did she have to go? She was way behind. And she caught this woman and just did the last lunge. It's her last race. It had every element that as a sports fan and just, I swear as a human, that you'd want. It was absolutely riveting.
Now I want to go watch that.
I know, you got to go pull it up. It was just phenomenal. It was that kind of thing that made her really a great story. And she was just a really nice person and super intelligent, a good person to talk to. So yeah, I thought that was great for us, because she and she was accessible, and her parents always called. I talked to her dad in Rio, and yeah, she was a fun story this summer.
Our girl.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody claims you're like, I played golf with Tiger Woods once. Like everybody, yeah.
Did you play Tiger Woods?
No, I'm kidding. Like that's my husband's old joke, is that everybody's played with Tiger Woods once.
Yeah, Arnold Palmer, I heard a story from Jim Nantz that he asked Arnold Palmer how many people he played golf with, and he was like, 100,000 people.
Yeah, exactly.
He was just guesses.
Exactly.
And then Jim Nantz kind of broke, like, Arnold, that would mean that you played with a different person every single day. That would take you like 180 years to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is a joke. Do you have any kind of favorite celebrity, sports celebrity, or a story that kind of still just resonates, or, oh man, that guy was cool, or she was cool?
No, I mean, like because I don't deal with the big guys very much at all.
Well, maybe just on a local. I mean, that Olympic story was pretty
that
close
was pretty neat. I mean, when the Warriors made their run, I had covered a little bit of the playoffs, and which was tons of fun, and it was absolutely like stress inducing, because there's nothing like, and I feel like I know basketball. I'm a basketball fan. I like it. There's nothing like feeling cocky in one moment and then thinking, everybody in the world is watching this game. Like when I cover something at the high school level, it's kind of me and it's my take on it. I got millions of people watching the Warriors. Everybody's got an opinion, and I had to sit there, and then I walk in the press room and it's all the real people and like the real professionals, and I was like, oh God. It was very stressful to try to, like, what am I going to do different from all these, pros? But yeah, I was a little bit starstruck, like when I would see people around that game and that environment, and they're trotting in Steve Kerr, and that was awesome, and and like, you're trying not to think, oh, this is awesome, but it's pretty awesome,
Warriors 0-1. Are they done?
Write them off for next year. I don't know. I mean, that is a tough road to climb, because they were like almost like the little scrappy team for as good as they were, and then now. Yeah, you've got people. Yeah, you're making LeBron the underdog. Are you kidding? Like, I mean,
wow.
So they're a little less likable, for a lot of people, because they're the dream team. I mean, this is the most stacked lineup in the history of the game, people are saying.
Right, KD. I mean, all this. Just watching them, it seems like they need to play together a little bit more.
Right.
It's one game, so
right.
I'm sure they'll figure it out. But
and the NBA at that level is like that anyway. I mean, everybody counts the success in their game of like how many touches did they get, and that number's going to go down for all those guys. If you add, Kevin Durant into the mix. But I just think they're a fun team. They play a likable style of basketball. But that was a smackdown the other night.
Yeah. Whew. They got a long way to go.
But I like Popovich, so I think he's great. So
tough to root against the legends.
Yeah.
Well, we do have to wrap it up.
Okay.
It's been great.
Thank you for
having you on the show, and hopefully we can have you back and talk some more sports.
That'd be great.
Soon.
Fun. Right,
well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Evan.
And thank you guys for watching. I'm Evan. We're with Kerry Benefield, and see you next time on 7 to 7.